Hello, I'm Edward Gray of Loch Levin, the SCA. Knight, Duke, take your pick, mundanely known as Jared Busby. I've been doing a number of quick training videos to try to walk through some of my concepts, and when I say my concepts, my interpretations. Nothing's new. Of how I approach fighting, how I approach training and utilization of Appel and other training tools to do that. And one thing that has come up in the previous exercises, I was talking about developing power. I was talking about hitting Appel. I was talking about hitting Appel both lightly and then with power to ensure that the form was proper, to ensure that your body was behind the shot, putting power into the shot. But once you progress to a point where you can do that readily, not necessarily all the time, you're not perfect yet, none of us are, but you can basically deliver a number of shots, not just the flat snap, not just the offside, the Molinade, but a wrap, and a few other choice shots. You've entered this middle realm of your fighting experience, right? You're now capable on the field. You can hit your opponents. You can see the shots coming. You can fire your shots in counter. But you might not be able to hit that guy in the offside leg. You might have misunderstood where his shot was coming in from. And this is where slow work, this is where people who can do work with a partner. This is where people who can visualize that shot coming in have something to work with. And on that last point, I want to segue and talk a little bit about the way the human brain works and doesn't work depending on who you are. So, as a kid, growing up, one of the neat and interesting things that different people would talk about, would be the hypnotist, right? The guy would have a group of people, this big audience, and he would put them all under a spell, right? Hypnotize a whole lot of them, right? And out of that fad came a number of visualization exercises, right? Imagine you're calm, you're on the beach, the water's lapping up and all that. And I remember thinking, that's a load of bunk, right? Because a percentage of the population, approximately 5% as I understand it, cannot see anything in their mind, right? Cannot visualize. So you say, close your eyes and imagine a red ball. I say, yeah, I know what red is and I know what a ball is, but see it? I close my eyes, well, it's dark. Maybe it's just a light blur afterglow of something, right? But see a red ball? Never done it, right? I think maybe 5 times in my life I had a dream where maybe I saw color in there, maybe. So I think I'm not quite in the bottom 5%, I'm in the 6% one, right? But there are 1 in 20 people that can't see anything in their mind's eye, right? That isn't a thing. So people ask, well, how do you visualize if you can't see stuff in your head, right? So I don't, but I do have a good comprehension of the three-dimensional world in which we live in. I have that experientially from, I know how far the back surface of this is relative to the front surface, right? I can point to this and I can put my hand in the back and know that's the right distance. I've gained that by experience. I don't know what I can see there, but I know that when I'm rewinding a fight in my mind, I know where I got hit. I know what happened before that. I can't picture it, but I can close my eyes and go, so I was, shield side forward, I was in my guard, I was hunkered down, I stepped wide, I might have overstepped, maybe exposed my head. I was going for that leg that was really open, so I saw that, and then I got pegged over here. So how did that happen? Okay. So I can go through my memory of what had happened, what I knew, and say, well, if I was extended like this, my head out, my leg, this leg back, I'm open two places, I don't want to get hit that way again, maybe I shorten my stance. So instead of being wide like this and exposing top and bottom, I bring it all in a little bit, right? Leave him more covered from here. And so when he throws that leg shot, the tail of my shield will pick it up. Or maybe, instead of buying for that leg, I should pay attention to his threat over here and block that first. Okay? So when I rewind fights, Sean will tell you this over and over again in terms of how we learn things. We learn best from our mistakes. While it is important to remember how I succeeded so that I can reproduce that result in the future, mistakes are very telling because there was an error made. And anytime you make an error, that is correctable. You can fix that. And if you fix that, the next guy can't exploit it. The big difference between guys that are okay and guys that are pretty good is they don't present targets very often. The other guy can't hit you, you get a lot more time to find a way to hit him. So correcting your mistakes, shoring up your guard, improving your awareness of your opponent is the fastest way to success. And so finding those mistakes, being able to stop, review, back up, and understand what went wrong provides you an opportunity to improve. And the only reason we're training at all is to get better and improve. So please, let's focus on those areas where we can improve. So I don't have a visual memory of what has happened, but I do have a knowledge of my body where I was, and from that, by extension, what I knew of my opponent. Now, I may have missed a critical piece of what was going on, and that's in a place where video or somebody else watching the fight can inform your perspective, give you new insights into what was going on so you can have a fuller picture and a better understanding of how the fight went his way versus yours. And then you can try to evaluate the mistake made. Sean talks a lot about how you characterize advantages and disadvantages in a fight, and so that you can isolate those errors, those mistakes, and then work on correcting them. So I recommend you look him up and review that at some length. But a thing that I do when I'm personally going through that, and people will see me in the back of court when, or off this side of the field when nothing's going on, closing my eyes, making little motions, thinking about what I might like to do. And that is simply kata, that's simply working through stuff you might do in front of a pel, stuff you will use in a fight. But every time that information goes through your brain, you build that neural pathway we've been talking about. My chemistry professor would say, if he's trying to teach you something, he wants to tell it to you three different ways. He wants to tell you something, you'd write it on the board and you'd see him write it down on the board, and then you'd write in your notes. And so he'd say, water is H2O, right? He'd say it, he'd write it, you'd write it. So water is H2O has gone through my brain 3 times already. And then maybe, he'd do the element song, and it'd come out one more time, right? And so the number of times this information goes through your brain, the more readily available that information is to you. And when we're talking about these neural pathways, when we're talking about your ability to say, I want to throw a flat snap, what does that mean? Well, that means step out, rotate, 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 extend. Oh, the shield's there, vary the angle. The more times that goes through, the more proficient you'll get at it. And so anytime you can be mindful and work through, I want that recover not to come to this side, but I want that recover to come across and back, catch their sword, rip that offside leg, or I'm missing that leg, their shield's in the way, I need to step out to get that angle. So I want to step out to get that angle. It's critically important. And yeah, the only thing that I didn't say in the previous sets that I should have said is footwork is key, always step. A thing that I always say with longsword is step offline as part of every shot that you do, because it changes your angle to your opponent. And you should be selecting the angle of progression that is to your favor. And when you move, at least their memory of where they have to change their shot from their memory of where you were to adapt for the new information for the change that you have made. So at least forces your opponent, keeps them honest. And furthermore, you should be using that to make little adjustments to circumvent their defenses. So that helps you and hinders their offense. So that's the thing to integrate with all your Pell work, all your training, whether you're swinging at a Pell or whether you are simply walking down the street going, I want to throw that flat snap, I want to recover over my head, I want to come back, I want to throw, step, and throw. You can practice and train under almost any circumstances. You just got to get creative about it. Thank you.